hello everyone, and welcome to the third episode of Boardwalk Banter. Sing with me now, Katie.
Banter.
Ooh, there you go. In this episode, we're going to get into the true history of Monopoly, why the game was created, and how it grew to be what it is today. So I'm really excited to get into it, Katie, and I know you are too.
Oh yeah, you guys have no idea. This story is nothing like you would ever imagine it could be. I still am reading the history of Monopoly and just in shock at the origins of this game. So we're gonna get into the story and the actual story.
Mm-hmm. No, and there's so much to this. We're gonna have more episodes deep diving. This episode, we're giving kind of a general timeline of everything and just chiming in on what our opinions are throughout it. But Katie, before we get into it, so me and Molly, we were cleaning out the basement this weekend, and I found some things I have to show you. I've been waiting for this moment to show you. All right, so you know, a while back when we played that game, I gotta grab it. It's in the background here, right here. We were playing. We were playing the game.
Blake was having a little struggle getting his headphones back on.
We're playing the game Get Buzzed, and I drew this card, so I'm a middle child. It said, "Middle children, get the attention you deserve and drink up." And that card resonated with me so much that I framed it. It's in a nice... Oh, now the card fell. It's in a nice wooden frame. This is me and Molly in front of the Love Park sign. It fell to block me and Molly off, but it was right above our face. Oh, there we go. Okay. So there we go.
That card... And you know what was even funnier?
It means so much to me. It means so much to me.
The funniest part about that game, I remember, is that it was so weird, the cards that we were drawing. If you guys haven't ever played Buzzed, essentially you draw a card and there's a prompt and you read the prompt and whoever, whatever, you know, like it was your card and you got middle child. So if any other cards or any other people in the game were middle children, they had a drink. So Blake was the only middle child. But what was crazy about that game is that like each person was drawing cards that were so just similar and right along with their life. It was crazy. And yours was definitely the funniest because Blake is one of those people that, you know, is just like your typical middle child seeking attention at every angle he can get. And Blake thrives on attention. He has
Don't
to
say it like that.
the center of attention. So, just so you guys know.
Let's be honest, Katie. Me and you both are.
I know.
Need attention.
I'm the youngest, but I definitely need attention for sure. For sure. So you said you had. Okay, so you went and cleaned out your basement. I want to hear this.
I found this scrapbook, and people listening to the podcast, I do apologize, but it is still going to be funny. I promise. I found this. This was made, I believe, by. Oh, don't quote me. My grandma or Aunt Karen. You know, I think your grandma.
I think your grandma.
I believe so. So you're going through the book, and it's nice pictures of me, like page after page. And you know what picture I scroll upon? And this relates to being a middle child.
No!
Who is that, Katie? Who is in my scrapbook? Tell me. You know how upset I was when I saw this weekend? I was devastated. Is that me? I'm right there. Oh,
For those of you that cannot see this right now, there is a picture of my husband Dylan the oldest in Blake's scrapbook.
I am speechless. Like, they didn't even know who I was. This is my graduation scrapbook of my life.
I cannot wait till your mom sees this.
You see why I have the problems I have, Katie?
I mean, I'm starting to realize it now. Ouch.
Honestly.
And what's hilarious, it's a nice big picture of Dylan and then this little picture of Blake next to it.
Listen, I think a lot of my problems, like I've just seen, it's just from. I've had one of the best childhoods. Well, I've also been pushed in the shadows several times.
My goodness, that is hysterical.
Yeah, so that got me and Molly laughing. And then I found this is the second thing that I found from my past, and it is dated from May 4th, 2004. Deep Creek snowboarder brings home gold at national event. This is in the Region Times newspaper for the West Virginia area. And it says, I don't really need to show it, but it's just an article right there.
He just needs to prove to everybody that there is an article about him.
No, just wait. Wait. So, here's the article. All right. McHenry. 3 members of the Deep Creek winter sports team made a good snowboarding show appearance at... I gotta restart. I'm too nervous. Hold on. 3 members of the Deep Creek winter sports team made a good showing at the 2004 United States of America Snowboard Association National Championships held at Angel Fire Resort in New Mexico. 7-year-old Blake Kajowski took a gold and 4 silver medals. The gold was for border cross. The silver medals were for halfpipe, slopestyle, slalom, and giant slalom. Dylan Kajowski, 12, took 19th, 25th, and 28th place. He was in the top 30%, his mother Loretta Kajowski of McHenry said. They were great for not having private coaches. Do you get that? Her boy got first and second, and when she's interviewed, she talks about the boy that got, and I quote, 19th, 25th, and 28th. I mean, mother, could I not? I mean, I get it. Talk about Dylan, but could I just get like a little like, I'm so happy for Blake. I'm so proud of him. No, she's just like, she gave an excuse for Dylan. She said they were great for not having private coaches. I got first and second, mother. Katie, this is such a problem. It's so deeply rooted in my past. There's physical evidence right here.
I am so convinced now, Blake. Like you really are a middle child.
Yeah, no, I didn't know it was this bad. I mean, this is from 2004, and it's right here. It's what I struggle with is right here, Katie. This is, I mean, I had to tell you during the podcast because I am still blown away. And you know what? I love my mother,
dying.
and I love Dylan, but can I just get, like, good job? No. No.
And of all the things, there's 7 siblings, and Dylan is the one that ends up in your graduation scrapbook.
Yeah.
And Dylan is the one.
I mean, I'm literally speaking. I still can't believe it. I'm shaking. You know how excited I was to see that I had a newspaper with my name in it, and who did my mother talk about?
Loretta, you're gonna have to have a conversation with Blake.
You gotta dive into some stuff.
I am dying. Oh, when you come visit next, I cannot wait till this gets revealed. I'm so glad you saved this for the podcast.
Oh, I knew the first time, Katie, I'm using this podcast to give you like authentic info.
I love it. Okay, so Blake is a little butthurt because he hasn't heard from me so much this week. And mind you, we talk often, but there was a couple text messages that I didn't respond to. And, it's that I'm really understanding now. It's that middle child thing.
It's false. I get plenty. Oh, stop it. I get plenty of attention now. It's just stuff in my past I got to sort out. That's all.
Yes. All right. Well, I'm dying. That was too.
I mean,
that was too funny.
Can't believe it. Yeah. No,
so funny. I hope you guys are laughing right along with us because it is.
Yeah. Or
that just was evidence of what Blake has been saying for so long, but all of us just like we're just maybe laughing at him. Yeah, totally brush it off.
Blake, you're crazy.
Like, Blake, you're just you're reading too much into it.
I think the article's not that bad. I really think the yearbook just puts the nail in the coffin. I mean,
at least the yearbook wasn't your mom.
Yeah, that's true.
So you
It
just
was my
got it
grandma, and hey, today's her 94th birthday. My grandmother's, that
Oh,
is.
very nice. When this
She's
airs,
doing
it'll
well.
not be her 94th birthday, but while we are recording this, it is.
Okay.
So, okay,
Correctamundo.
I love it. So, the snowboard article, something you mentioned in that article, and I remembered, was angel fire. So, this is really cool. When Blake visited recently, I gifted him this Monopoly board that he is stretching to grab right now. And I found it on eBay, and I was so excited to get this. But he's showing the camera right now. It's actually a snowboarding Monopoly board,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the properties on that board is Angel Fire, and a couple of the other properties are ones that Dylan and Garrett and Blake snowboarded at and competed at.
Yeah.
But there's a really fun facts about this, and I'll let Blake tell you more about the board. Um, when I ordered it on eBay, it was listed as brand new sealed. Okay. And I thought
I gotta get it.
I was getting a deal. Like I was like, this is too good to be true for a brand new 2004 Monopoly Board Edition. Okay, well, it comes and it's sealed. I mean, it's sealed, but Blake's like a little confused because when he's opening it, there's like a rip or something on the box. And I was like, huh, that's strange. Well, then he proceeds to open the board. Lo and behold, he's showing
Feel
the
that?
camera right now. The houses are inside of a Ziploc bag. And what was the other part?
Hole.
Nothing else is sealed. And a big old hole. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Everything else is saran wrapped very lousy.
oh, I'm dying.
Yeah,
So
very
either the seller that had really good reviews did not know that it was not a brand new board, or he tried to pass it as a sealed board. I'm not saying anything because it was still a good deal for the snowboard Monopoly board, and now we don't feel bad about opening it and playing it when we could have totally kept it sealed and kept it as a collector item.
Are honestly so amazing. I actually have to get the tokens. This is going to be a tangent, but I don't care.
Blake didn't have any of this prepared. He just had the board displayed behind him, but apparently did not have any of the pieces with him. So something else about the board that's really cool is the railroads are the different like brands, snowboarding brands. And so there's like DC Shoe Company, there's Oakley, which the boys were sponsored by.
We were sponsored by Oakley and Burton. So Oakley right here. All right, yeah, and I'll show you. So the only three places I've been to on this board were Whistler, Blackcomb, Mammoth, and let me find. For some reason, Angel Fire is one of the browns, which is purple in this model. And then the dark blues are the other two we've been to. But I thought it was so cool they had Angel Fire. And I literally just found that article. How wild is that?
No, it's so crazy.
It's crazy.
So, yeah. So that was just a cool find. And it's just a really cool board. So if you're watching the video or if you see any of this video, I'm sorry. Go ahead and show the tokens,
let me
Blake.
show them the tokens. Oh, you got a nice little... Oh, heck. I'm dropping them. You got a nice little snowboard boot right here. You got a snowboarder. That's my favorite. I kind of like to put... And you got a helmet right here. And I like to just rest the helmet on his little head.
Oh, wow.
Oh. Then you got some Oakley goggles. I don't know if they're Oakley. They're just goggles. But these tokens are awesome. Like, I kind of want to just, like... I want to keep them around my desk. They're sweet.
No, they are very cool.
This is the Katie. I'm not gonna lie. Like, this is the coolest Monopoly set I think I will ever get. Like, I mean, just the fact that it relates to my childhood in such a way is awesome.
Well, we know how affected you are by your childhood, so I can imagine how important this sport is to you.
No, I absolutely love my childhood, and snowboarding is like a core part of it. That other stuff, I'm fine.
Yeah, you're absolutely fine. 100%. Not bothered at all.
No. I'm happy.
Emotional damage.
Don't Uncle Roger me, though.
So behind me, I'm actually sitting with a very old Monopoly board. It was the new one that came out in the 60s. So it was the 1961 version. And this has all the pieces. It's very cool. It's like the traditional orange and yellow chance and community chest cards that are all made out of paper. So it's really cool. I just have this as kind of a collector item. that I got on eBay. And we'll definitely play it at some point, but I opened it and it smells really old. So like, I feel like it needs to air out a little bit, but anyway, so
Thanks for that. Why did you say that?
Just thought that was an important fact that everybody should know.
We like it. I think all of our listeners are amped about that news.
Yes. So I think we're ready, Blake.
All right, guys. Well, it's time for the bod of the pod. We need some bod of the pod music.
Yeah. Bod of the pod. Bod of the pod. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we're going to get into the first segment, which is called the Darrow Cinderella story. This is the story of Monopoly as it was originally published. So
let me stop you there. If you guys remember last episode when we had Isaac on, I opened one of these Monopoly surprise boxes and we got a token that was a little credit card. I think I actually have it here as I'm telling this. Is a little credit card and it had the name Charles Darrow on it. And at the time it's like, who is Charles Darrow? We had no idea. Oh, nope, it's not in this one, but I do have it. It's right here. That's what it looks like. I have this one. And it's a little gold credit card and it says Charles Darrow's name on it. And we're like, who is Charles Darrow? So after the episode, we looked this up. And boy, did it take us on a journey. And we are about to share that journey with you. But I'll let Blake start and get into the Charles Darrow Cinderella story.
And it's a journey we are still on. I mean, I haven't gotten to the end. All right, so the Darrow Cinderella story. So Monopoly was invented by a Philadelphian engineer, Charles Darrow. During this time, he was at a very low point in his life. During the Great Depression, he had no money and he was unemployed, which is very true. A lot of people in Philly go to the shore, Atlantic City being a big destination. And he sold the game to Parker Brothers and got it patented in 1935. And versions of this story are still told on the Hasbro's website. But unfortunately,
this is not the truth. We dive deep into the actual story, the actual history of Monopoly that is much darker than you can imagine. Charles Darrow was not that great of a guy.
Why do you have to do that? He misrepresented Philadelphia.
He absolutely did. Philly's just not that great, Blake.
Oh,
We've already established this. It's all about Southwest Virginia.
No.
Roanoke, Virginia.
I hope people realize how much patience I have with this.
You do. So, the origins of Monopoly can actually be traced back to a woman, a feminist activist named Elizabeth Maggie, Lizzie for short. And she created this game called the Landlord's Game. Now, the Landlord's Game it's based on Henry George's single tax ideology. And so when she produced this, it was really not just a means of like having something to do, but also she produced it to promote Henry George's teachings. And so that's
real quick. And the single tax theory is if we tax land and only land, the middle class has a better shot. That's like the main point to it.
So
which is interesting. I've never heard of that.
It's about the social and economic injustices and consequences of land
And this was
grabbing.
during a time where like the Rockefellers, like all this industrial money was flowing to very few people. And it was an amount of money that no one's really seen at this point in time.
Yeah. And that was too. So like Elizabeth Maggie, just to give you some perspective, was against what J.P. Morgan, Carnegie's were doing. Like that's what Andrew Carnegie was doing. She was the exact opposite. And she was trying to promote it this way by making it into a game and a way to teach people. And she was actually introduced to Henry George's teachings by her father when she was younger. And she became super, super, super passionate about it. So she kept this ideology and these beliefs her entire life until her death too. The Landlord's Game, it was patented on January 5th, 1904 under the title, I quote, a practical demonstration of the present system of land grabbing with all its usual outcomes and consequences. So she also collaborated with her friends, and she had quite a few friends in the area. This is where I'm going to throw in a fun fact for you, Blake. She collaborated with her friends in Brentwood, Maryland, which is where she was from. And they were all, Henry, they called him Henry Georges. And they all believed in his ideas. And so she collaborated with them to create this game. But fun fact, Blake, Brentwood, Maryland is only 28 miles from where you grew up in Deep Creek.
No way.
Is that not wild?
Whoa. Dang.
Yeah. So
That's awesome.
I know. I looked that up and I was like, that is cool.
Deep Creek.
I know. Well, we've talked about Deep Creek a little bit, but I definitely want to go
Best
visit
place
there.
on earth.
I wonder if there's a way we could see something in the museum or the original Landlord's game, which there's very, very, very few copies left. But yeah, so go ahead, Blake. Starting in 1906.
Maggie and the other George followers established the Economic Game Company of New York, which purpose was to publish the Landlord's Game. So they actually started a company just to push this game out to the public in 06. So that was really early on. So Maggie ended up marrying Albert Phillips in 1910 and moved to Clarendon, Virginia, where they patented a new edition of the Landlord's Game in 1924 under her married name, Elizabeth Maggie Phillips.
Yep. And this 1924 edition, published by the Ad Game Company in Washington, D.C. So it was published by a different company. This is when it started featuring names of streets. So modern day Monopoly that you know of, that has the streets, the colors. This is when the idea of the streets names started, and there was an alternative name for this game, and instead of So Scott Nearing, this guy named Scott Nearing, a member of the economics department at the University of Penn, actually used the Landlord's Game in his teachings. He incorporated it into his lectures on political economy. So that was kind of cool, and definitely something that Elizabeth Maggie was wanting. I mean, she was trying to spread it that way and make sure that people knew Henry George's teachings. And then students at Princeton University and Haverford College made modifications to the Landlord's Game. So with the original Landlord's Game, each piece of this history starts building it into what modern day Monopoly is. So it's kind of cool. So these students at Princeton University and Haverford College, they made the modifications to the Landlord's Game, and that's when they started grouping individual properties. So that's where you get that idea of 3 properties make a Monopoly or a color set. And they also started the building additions. So the ideas of putting houses and hotels on to get more rent for your property. So it's really cool. I mean, it was just a great idea, and obviously has changed what modern day Monopoly is, because the Landlord's Game did not incorporate this. And then in the late 1920s, the game being played by the college students had evolved from Elizabeth Maggie's original design and started commonly being called Monopoly. So even as early as the 1920s, that's when the name came, because part of the game itself was to auction these properties off, like the original rules of Monopoly are. If you land on a property and you either can't afford it or you don't want it, it's supposed to go up to auction to get the game moving faster. Well, it started as the name Auction Monopoly. So then a student at Williams College produced a commercial version of the game and called it Finance, which very closely resembled what modern day Monopoly is. And all of these moments of change and variations of the game just contributed to its popularity. Now, this is where we really get into the names of present day Monopoly. A woman named Ruth Hoskins, she learned the game in Indianapolis because it was very prominent in the Quaker community. And she also aligned with George's teachings, Henry George's teachings. She moved to Atlantic City, New Jersey, and allegedly she is the one that added the Atlantic City street names to the version of Monopoly that was played there. So originally in Atlantic City, a very large Quaker community, they had not had the Atlantic names until she got there. Atlantic City names until she got there. The Atlantic City street names, I say.
So people just modified the board. And it was kind of like word of mouth. You would also use tokens from around the house. Like, this was a game that you could play several different ways. And it's kind of cool because you still do the house rules and stuff. People play different ways. But back to what I was saying, they made some changes to the game. So a realtor from Atlantic City actually put fixed prices on the properties of the boards. And they actually got rid of the auctioning. They were the ones to not do auctions as a way to make the games both simpler because kids were playing and because of the Quaker religion, a big part of their faith is silence, and the auctioning brought like this aspect to the game that was a little like too loud and I believe rowdy. But and then the other part was they also wanted to include their kids in playing the game and have like more family game nights. And then they also incorporated hotels because during this time they were in the Great Depression and they were vacant, all these big corporate hotels. But several of the Quaker teachers were staying in these hotels. So after the houses there, you'd like add another level of upgrading. They initiated that as well.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I thought that was just interesting. Yeah.
I didn't know that. So now is where Charles Darrow comes in. So Charles Todd in Atlantic City, he introduced Monopoly to Charles and Esther Darrow, who then further popularized the game. Now, Charles Darrow at the time was still, struggling. So this is where his quote-unquote Cinderella story comes in. Charles Darrow was playing this with Charles Todd, and Charles Todd was taken aback by this because after the game, they all enjoyed it. They had a great, friendly game night. And Charles Darrow just asked Charles Todd if he would write the rules of this game down. And like multiple times. He wanted him to write them down. I think it was 12 times, I believe, or something like that. And Charles Todd thought that was very strange, but he did it and whatever. Was like, okay, maybe he just really likes the game and wants to play it. Well, Charles
But that was also weird. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. That was also weird because this game is kind of like chess or checkers. Like, I don't know. It's just been around for how long? 30 years at this point. And it's like, what do you mean? Why do you want the written rules? I guess he was just like, he didn't know why he would want it written down until.
Right. It was very strange to him. And so then Charles Darrow later secured a copyright and a patent for his enhanced edition of Monopoly in 1933 and 1935, respectively. The original boards that Charles Darrow made were made on oilcloth. Like he was having his family help make them. Like he was just trying to get this out. And then Parker Brothers, who is the game company, they were so impressed by the game and the game's success. They were the ones that ended up buying Monopoly off of Charles Darrow, gave him a royalty. Now, mind you, at the time when Charles Darrow sold the game to Parker Brothers, they were not aware that Charles Darrow was not the true creator of Monopoly. So Parker Brothers, they were so impressed by the success that they were like, we need to keep Monopoly, even though...
Well, and they were also... Parker Brothers was about to go bankrupt. Like, they were right there.
Yes.
Their company was over, so they needed, like, a big hit in their company. And they found Monopoly, and it was immediately, like, off the charts. It sold everywhere.
Yeah.
But that was all before they believed Darrow's story. And it was a while until they even found out that Darrow wasn't the creator of it. But they were making a ton of money off of it right off the bat.
Oh, yeah. And they didn't want to lose that. And so they were trying to figure out a way to not get in trouble, but then also be able to keep this game. So they ended up meeting with Elizabeth Maggie Phillips, her married name. And this is after she's become aware that this game called Monopoly, which is extremely similar to the landlord's game that she created was being sold. So they offered her $500, which modern day, that's about approximately $9,000 for the rights to her game, the landlord's game. And with the agreement that they would still publish the landlord's game, because Maggie, no matter what, it didn't matter how much money she got. $9,000 for how successful Monopoly is today, she could have got a lot more money for it. But it didn't matter to her. And I also don't think she was quite aware how successful Monopoly was and how much money she could have actually made. But it wasn't about the money for her. She just wanted to make sure that the landlord's game and Henry George, his teachings, were promoted and put out there in the world for everybody to hear. That was her biggest thing, so it didn't matter how much money she was making. And so Parker Brothers created a third edition of the landlord's game in 1939, but Parker Brothers did absolutely nothing to promote it. That was kind of their strategy going in. It's like, well, we're going to buy it, but it doesn't mean we're going to market it. And the game almost immediately was recalled from stores, and almost every unsold copy was destroyed. And to this day, there are very, very, very few copies alive. And that's why I'm wondering if in Brentwood, Maryland or somewhere, there's a version that we could see, because I would love to see what this game looks like.
Oh my
fun
gosh.
fact, side note, fun fact-ish. I went on eBay today and was like, oh, maybe there's a version of the landlord's game. It's probably going to be like $10,000 to buy, but I just want to see. There is not, and I cannot find where you can actually buy it, but there are reproduced versions on eBay for sale for like, there's the finance version.
The finance ones I'm seeing.
Is, I think it was like $50 or something, and then Prosperity is like $100. So you can buy those to be able to play, but they're obviously not the originals. So I may do that.
I kind of want like a finance. We should get a finance.
I think we need to do it and play it. I think it'd be fun. Well, we're going to do that, and we're going to let you guys know.
Oh, these boards are so old. Oh, that's so cool.
It is very cool.
We're both getting into collecting Monopoly stuff, but now I think we're going to start collecting the historical items too, Kate.
Oh, yeah. I'm all about it. I did purchase at the same time that I purchased Blake's Snowboarding Monopoly. I'm a huge I Love Lucy fan. I bought the I Love Lucy one. I talk about that all the time. I Love Lucy. But I found the Monopoly board and I had to buy it. But I was in Walmart, and in true Clearance Katie fashion, which we'll talk about Clearance Katie at some point, I found the Mandalorian Star Wars Monopoly board on sale for $9. So I went ahead and bought that. So I have that.
Here we go.
So
guys, you guys better be in for it. If you're gonna keep listening to us, and we hope you do, be ready for every time Katie saves some money, you will know. Whenever she makes a deal, you will know. And unfortunately, I've been dealing with this for years. Years.
Okay, so back to the history. There's a man, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing his last name correctly. His name is Ralph Anspach. He designed a new game in 1973 called Anti-Monopoly. And that led to a decade-long legal battle, because it did start gaining some popularity. It led into a decade-long legal battle with Parker Brothers over patent infringement. And General Mills, the successor to Parker Brothers, they were the ones that filed the lawsuit. So when copywriting the game for Darrow, this is where Ralph Anspach was able to prove that Darrow was not the original creator of Monopoly.
Wait, real quick before you dive into this. At this point, he was getting really into solving this on his own. So he was actually traveling all over to speak to people who played Monopoly before that, like 1936 cutoff. And he talked to Todd. He's probably the most notable person, since Todd was the one that gave Darrow. But most of these people were also either very old or deceased. But it became his obsession to get to the bottom of the truth. But mostly because he's in court for it, so like he needs to. And then
he needed something.
Yeah, but then what you're about to say is what like put everything together for him.
Which is so wild that this was not. Apparently, it was just kind of ignored by all Monopoly players, and nobody really cared. So what ended up happening? This is why it was discovered that Charles Darrow was not the original creator, was because the quote-unquote original Monopoly, the Atlantic City version, had Marvin Gardens spelled incorrectly. So Marvin Gardens is actually spelled Marven, Gardens. On the board, it's spelled Marvin. Well, when Charles Darrow copied it, he copied it misspelled. So that's how they were able to determine that he just straight completely copied the game and, didn't give credit to who originally created it. And so that's how they were able to discover it. Now, Parker Brothers chose not to change Marvin Gardens to its original spelling because they knew it would cost so much money, and it didn't really seem like people cared. So Marvin Gardens on here, it's the last yellow property, the one closest to go to jail, is still spelled Marvin. So just a little fun fact for you guys. And then here's
Charles Todd said, from where I was reading this, and this was a speech given by the author of the book. Sorry, guys, I'm trying to find the name.
We have to fact check a little bit because it just...
Yeah, so this book is called The Monopolist, Obsession, Fury, and the Scandal Behind the World's Favorite Board Game. And this was a speech that I was listening to by the author. And
we actually haven't read the book yet. So the plan is to read this book and dive deeper. Yeah, Mary Poland is her name. So we've listened to a little bit from her. Super awesome story. She's a super great writer and speaker. Highly recommend going and listening to her. So just some really cool fun facts about later in still history, but more fun facts about Monopoly. The television program History Detectives actually featured the Landlord's Game in a 2004 episode and kind of explored its connections to Henry George's teachings. But you can't just go search for it and try to watch it. I guess you have to, from what I've read, you have to just kind of hope that it airs again. There's nowhere to find that episode, but that would be really interesting to see, their version of the story and how far they dive into it. Mm-hmm. International tournaments for Monopoly started all the way back in the early 1970s. So its popularity has been around for a long time. But the fact that there's international tournaments for Monopoly, I just would love to know what the strategies are that they use. Because at the end of the day, Monopoly is based on luck and strategy. It's not just a strategic game.
Not as much luck as you think, but yeah, there is an aspect of luck. A lot of games have an aspect of luck.
It's all in the roll of the dice, though. I mean, that really can determine the course of the game. So, yes, there's a huge aspect of luck in it.
What percentage would you put of luck in Monopoly, Katie?
Definitely, it's not over 50. I would put it like, what I would put it is, I would say it's about 40% luck, 60% skill. Strategy.
I would argue it is. I'd lean 15% luck, 85% skill, maybe 20, 80. But the die is more predictable than you think. But I'm not gonna tell you because that might be the only edge I have on you to this date.
Oh, really? I mean, there is the aspect of Monopoly when you're like, okay, I'm 2 away from landing on a property with a hotel on it, and that's going to end my game for me. And when you're that close, your likelihood of rolling, obviously a higher number, is better. So you end up being able to skip over those properties versus being like 10 away from the property. You could roll 10 or you could roll less than that and hit it. So yes, there is that aspect, but
for our listeners, Katie, I'll tell them what I'm talking about. So do you know what the most frequent number rolled with 2 dice is?
The most frequent number rolled. I don't know it for a fact, but I'm going to guess.
Okay.
I'm going to guess it is 7.
Yeah. Yep. It's 7 because of the 6, 7, and 8 are the highest three, but 7 is the most common.
Mm-hmm.
So how I play Monopoly, I basically assume I'm going to roll a 7. So, like, if I'm 7 away from a hotel, I'm trying to make sure I have enough cash to survive it, basically. But obviously, you roll a 2 here, you roll a 12. But 6, 7, and 8, you're going to roll a vast majority of the time. And I play Monopoly. Like, when I do trades, I'm not, I guess if I do a trade and I'm coming up on a property, someone's coming up on a property and I trade for that property, I'll put stuff on it right away if they're 7 rolls away, basically. 7 space.
Yeah.
Type deal. So you can get really deep into it, but there is luck, and then there's also there is a percentage of luck, but a lot of games are like that, but not as much as everyone would say. There is a lot more to it.
But where that luck comes in is like, so for example, Blake and I were playing on the app recently, and the roll was just not in my favor. Like, after the point that I traded with Blake, I ended up going back to jail multiple times, which put me back in front of his properties. And then there was the aspect that I wasn't landing on free parking or landing on go, so I wasn't able to collect any more money to be able to put money on my properties. So it just, I don't know. I'd love to know from the listeners what their percentage is. I still hold 40-60 because there are games where just the roll of the dice are in my favor. But some other facts. So the first video game and computer game.
Tell us what you guys think. I'm 80-20.
I'm curious.
20%.
I say 40-60.
I'm leaning 15. No, I'm sitting.
Oh, you're sitting 15-85?
I'm sitting 15-85, Katie. I have to make a stance. Yes.
Oh, all right.
There is luck there, though. I'm not saying there's no luck. 15% is still a percentage in the double digits.
No, it is. It is. Okay, so the first video game and computer game editions were published in 1989. So that's when. Now, today, nice. I mean, I have like 4 Monopoly apps on my phone right now. I've got the Monopoly game. I've got Monopoly Go. I've got Monopoly Slot.
What accent was that?
I don't really know.
I don't know.
I think that's
Cali Valley girl coming out.
It must have been. It could be the accent from drinking wine. I've like been sipping while I've been, So it's like, maybe it's just a little, I just want to add some flair in that moment there.
That's fine.
But
flare it up. Is that a saying?
I think so. Well, you just
probably not right.
You just made it one. You just made it one. So I've got like Monopoly Slots and Monopoly.
Katie's a big casino goer with those slots.
I am. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Casino goer. I don't play tables. I like slot machines. What's the other one? I'm looking at my phone right now. Monopoly Go, Monopoly Poker. But as I just say, I'm not. As I just say, I'm a slot machine person. I do like playing poker on the phone. Okay, and since 1994, Hasbro, who is now the owner of Monopoly, or its licensees, have released the official variants of the game based on locations other than Atlantic City, New Jersey, and London, because there was in 1985, a spin-off board game and card games emerged on both sides of the Atlantic Ocean. And so this is when you started seeing the Star Wars editions come in, Disney, and now there's just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of versions of Monopoly, which just make it so fun because even though it's the same game, just to have cool tokens you're playing with and land on spaces that are awesome, it just makes the game more fun. Now,
what are you advertising for Monopoly? What is this?
This is not a sponsored ad.
Obviously, we
Monopoly,
support the game,
come sponsor us, Monopoly. So, fun fact about Mr. Monopoly. So, do I have I think he's on here. No, okay, but I do have a token of Mr. Monopoly. If you don't know what Mr. Monopoly looks like, he's the sweet little man with the mustache and the top hat and the little suit, and he's now the mascot for Monopoly. His name is, Mr. Monopoly, his actual name is Rich Uncle Pennybags, and he is actually supposed to be JP Morgan. I did not know that.
Really?
Yes.
Whoa, I didn't know that.
So
That's cool. It's a cool little fact.
Mr. Monopoly is JP Morgan. So very interesting facts today. That is the true history. That is a very high level summary of the history of Monopoly.
But that was still a long time. What was that? 30 to 40 minutes of history, maybe more.
But Katie, before we wrap up, I want to hear your opinion on how it ended with Maggie basically not getting the attention she deserves. Like, I guess I resonate with that. When she passed away, when she passed away, and Dara passed away, Dara got this big obituary, and it was like the creator of Monopoly. When she passed away, you had to go to search for her obituary, and no mention of anything really related to that.
And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, she died with very little money as well.
Yeah.
No, it's very sad.
It's wild.
When I first looked up the Charles Darrow story, and then I immediately called Blake and was like, this is insane. Charles Darrow is not a very nice guy, or not a very good guy.
Remember last episode? I was amped. I was like, Philadelphia. That's because we knew nothing about the actual story.
Yeah, Blake takes back any moment of being excited about who Charles Darrow was and being from Philadelphia.
Listen, no, there was. I will say this: several businesses, some of the biggest businesses, they use other people's ideas. For example, McDonald's. The person who spread McDonald's to what it is today, he found it. It was a small just burger shop in California. But they didn't want to grow it at all. They just wanted that thing. They were happy with their lives. And he franchised it, and he made it what it is today. And he swindled them out of a deal to basically control it. But which he wasn't I don't think he's a great guy. But so many industries have been kind of taken like this. It's wild. And just to see it again.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it may not be the most ethical thing to do. But it wasn't not. I mean, he was kind of smart for doing it. It made him a lot of money, and he was.
But that's not it's very unethical. It's smart they were able to market it, and Dara was able to market a game like no game has been marketed before. His story was deeply intertwined to the beginning selling of the game. People were like, this poor guy made this game. Oh, that's so crazy! It's such an amazing game. We're gonna get it. We're gonna see what it's like. And that was all a lie. But, Hasbro didn't know it, or Parker Brothers at that point didn't know about it.
Well, that was the part about it.
And it's just wild.
People resonated with the Cinderella story. It was like this poor man, and he's made all this success, and he came from nothing, and look at what he's done. So that was part of the marketing strategy, that was a big selling this story. And it worked. It worked.
But,
they sold millions of copies back then.
I know, but it's just it shows you greed. Some people, when they can find a way to get money, they will do and hurt people no matter what.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I wouldn't be able to do that. I certainly like money, but it is not the end all be all whatsoever. You got to give back. You got to do good things with the money. But these people are just. They're smart, they're wicked smart to be able to make this happen.
Oh, yeah.
They're just, he became a multimillionaire almost instantly.
Overnight.
From, writing on some oilcloths and selling it to Parker Brothers. But,
and with all that said.
And Maggie didn't even fight that hard. I know she was older. She was getting closer to her death as this was all happening. So it's how much. She was happy she got some recognition and some cash, but
it was her only goal. Like I said earlier, it was her only goal to make sure that Henry George's teachings were taught, and this was a way to teach them, was spreading the game. But at the end of the day, even though the story behind Monopoly is very wild, I love this game so much, and it is so fun. And I know Monopoly gets a bad rap sometimes. It's it takes forever. It tears families apart. Whatever. It's a fun game, and it's competitive, and there's luck, and there's skill.
Oh, yeah.
It's a great game. But we have
Oh.
to take our moment and open up one of our Monopoly surprise boxes. So we've done this on our episodes, and we're opening some collector tokens here, and I will tell the listeners what these are as I'm opening them. I'm destroying the box right now currently. So, Monopoly surprise boxes, exclusive token checklist. This is where we're checking off which ones we collect. Our first box, we actually opened up some rare ones, which is really cool. So, opening up this side that says Park Place and Chance. Cool little bag in here. Let's see.
I'm in misery watching you do this.
I'm just trolling
As
you.
in, you're jealous you're not the one opening it, or you're like,
Mix it up. I'm not opening it.
It should be open.
so there we got a little Monopoly guy. I think it's a different one than we've had before.
Okay.
And then,
The Boardwalk Banter collections.
yes. Oh, this one has two. Okay, let's see. So in the meantime, Blake, do you want to do our chance card as I'm opening this?
Yes.
We got
Let's
another
see.
metal house. Green metal house.
So we still have to go through
Chance and Community Chest. That's going to wrap up our podcast. So for chance cards, Katie, I'm picking it now.
Another green house. Metal house.
And it looks like...
Oh, before I tell the chance cards, Katie, we both need 64 of those metal houses. So out of our favorite set, we have legit metal houses. That'll be so awesome. 32
So that's what's really
apiece.
cool about these is, like in
I
this
love
one we
them.
just
The
got
green-
two.
That's my favorite.
The green metal houses. We need to get I think there's hotels too. Oh, is this a new one? I think this is a new one. We got the go to jail token.
Oh, let me
You
see
can
that.
There. It's,
Nice. Okay.
Mr. Monopoly in jail. And we've got one more side to open. This just goes on forever. I love it. I think this is the token. We get a token in each one. Ooh, a new one. We got the gold token. So
Nice.
these tokens obviously can be used on the board, which is cool. So, and they're
Yeah.
all metal. I need to check off what we have. Add it to my
All right.
free
I hope,
test card
hope
of
you
the
guys
week.
enjoyed that.
Assuming I don't pick.
All right. Let's hit
There's
it.
our.
You got those nice laminated cards. See, I need to
know.
get some nice laminated
It's
chance
just
cards.
because I'm extra. All right, let's see.
Extra. Ah.
Nope, that was one we did before. Okay. Oh, I like this one. I like this one a lot. It's a good reminder.
I already
Call-
don't want to.
Oh, stop it. Call a loved one. Reach out to a family member or friend you haven't spoken to in a while. It's always good. Like grandparents are always the ones that you just never know how much longer you have. And so it's always good to, and they just love it. Well, you need to give your grandma a call and let her know that.
You know what? I did today. I gave her a happy 94th birthday, so I think mine's already completed. And I talked to her and Aunt Karen.
That's awesome. Did you tell her that there's a giant picture of Dylan in your graduation book?
I didn't have the heart. No.
Yeah.
This stays about her.
Aw.
It's not,
That is.
she's an amazing lady, and it's not on her.
Such an amazing lady.
Can I cite my mother for not double checking the book, or
my father? It made me.
I don't think your dad would have known the difference.
All I know is how was that not noticed when she gave it to me and people were looking at it like during my graduation party and whatnot. I'm sure my parents looked through it. We just gazed over this big picture of Dylan.
Blake,
Clearly, Dylan.
it's just
I'm pulling it out
more
again.
proof that
We're ending the episode like we started it.
it's just more proof that you were just the forgotten one.
Look,
I think.
Look at that. Look at that little handsome devil.
Little
Who's
Blake, and then a giant picture of Dylan.
I mean, 1.5 right here. Dylan's only 1, and clearly he's a half a year younger than me in this pic. And clearly, I mean, come on. He looks bigger than me at a year, actually.
That is so funny.
Oh, that's too much.
And I can't, the quote, man, too great. But, wow.
I love
I
it.
hope you guys really enjoyed this episode. I have an absolute blast doing these. And the history of Monopoly, it's so vast. And we're excited because in a few episodes, we're going to actually dive deeper and deeper into it because there's a lot more. We just gave you the overall highlights and some of the cool facts here and there. But we hope you guys enjoyed it.
Yeah.